which jurisdiction do you think, I mean, you mentioned the sandboxes that have already started to come into play. Just for the audiences here, because I know that there are projects that are probably being incubated as we speak, and I think information like this could be very helpful for them.
Yeah, definitely. As far as best is concerned, let's strip that adjective out of the sentence and just go across the board a bit more neutral. I think if you want to, if you're an issuer out there looking for an exchange, obviously open finance, going towards the U.S. market and filing a Reg D is going to be the most open right now. If you want to head for some of the emerging markets, they're going to be the most friendly at the moment. They're pushing regulations the quickest. So over in the Philippines, we're seeing that they're moving extremely fast, and the exchange that I mentioned that's going to be listed, launching at the end of the month, is over in the Philippines. They've got a few in hand. And so Philippines could be a good bet if you're looking to do it as quickly as possible. But also you can take into consideration the stability and long-term market within these kind of developing countries. So maybe it's a little bit better to wait off if you don't have to rush anything for some of the more developed country sandboxes to go through their process and see how it plays out. So I would say Hong Kong is moving a little bit slower than Singapore. So Singapore is probably, for Asia at least, one of the top places to head right now if you're going to be looking to file. And then we can hope, and thanks to these types of events within Korea, that within the next year or so, potentially, that we could start seeing regulators move a little bit more within the security token space, start getting the dialogue started, start discussing bills and policy. Not as necessarily enacting anything right away, but let's try to push regulators into this dialogue, into understanding what security tokens are. The ICO space has taken a huge amount of time to regulate. The first announcements were in November 2017, so here we are today in January 2019 without anything still pending. So I think the idea really is to, because of these events, because of these panels and conferences, if we can work this into dialogue with regulators and making them aware of the space, then we can start pushing things on.
Before I move on to sort of sidetrack away from regulations, Spencer, I have one quick question for you, and that's in relation to your expectations in 2019 as to how, this is a tough question, maybe not for you, maybe someone talking about you. How do you think that the U.S. SEC would, what do you think what's on their mind? How do you think they're eventually going to come to some sort of adoption for STL? What are your thoughts in terms of your thoughts on how the U.S. SEC will move forward on STLs?
Yeah, so to extrapolate on my thoughts on where the SEC is at, I would say that they're really looking deeply at the space. They've made several comments about the digital security space and potential it has for financial markets. They're aware of the clutter that exists in the traditional way that securities, non-public securities are traded. And so, with our software along with other issuance platforms, you're able to actually see your cap table at any given time. So, you could have theoretically 1 million different investors from all over the world, and you're able to view all those investors in one platform and able to download all those investors, submit it to regulators, submit it to your auditors, accountants. And that technology today doesn't exist. There's just so many, it's so paper, or it's sitting under so many different trusted third parties like broker-dealers or brokers' houses. And so I think that the SEC is thinking about this space as a way to make their jobs easier and make securities a lot more compliant and a lot less friction in this space.
Thanks for that. Hassan, just one last question for you. So Polymath has developed the ERC 1400, Securitize has developed the DS protocol, Swarm Fund, the SRC 20, Harbor has developed the R token, and the list goes on and on and on. So there are dozens of different security standards and protocols, security token standards and protocols being offered to the marketplace, and I believe that more will come on this year. How will these standards be reconciled? I mean, do you think that there's a need for these standards to be reconciled eventually for the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, okay, if your hope stands and we do hit thousands of tokens within the STO market, I mean, can you imagine if all of them had their own standard, the difficulty that exchanges would have? We can ask Tobin about that. Tobias. And you know, if it was, I think really we do need to reconcile that fact. So coming to an industry standard is going to be very important. You know, over at Polymath, we have supported that with. If you go to the website, thesecuritytokenstandard.org, you know, we have different organizations who are involved. Securitize is also involved. So, you know, and I think one thing really comes up pretty often, and I'm sure you get to say this question. It's how do you differ from competitors? You know, why are you guys better? How do you stand out? And really, this ecosystem is very large. You know, as we mentioned, the potential of this is extremely huge to help revolutionize the traditional industry. So all of us need to work together in the beginning of this ecosystem. It's still in the infrastructure layer. We're still very early adopters. Everything is still being developed. There's tons of space to work together. So as far as these standards are concerned, you know, it is an open. It's completely open on GitHub. It's fully contributable. You can go check the audits for everything. You can go do a commit yourself, and that will be checked. You know, I think Sejin is probably a good person to ask about this in terms of how all the standards differ and maybe which ones are a little bit more viable long term. But really what we're coming down to at Polymath is that there does need to be an industry standard. We don't necessarily think ours is best. We want to make sure that everyone's getting involved and very active in the space. We're open to quote-unquote competitors helping out and joining. It doesn't necessarily need to be Polymath standard, you know, per se. It's just the industry standard. And we do need to reconcile that fact so that it's easier to onboard the security tokens into these up-and-coming exchanges. And so that the exchanges themselves can have an easier time launching and have a little bit less to deal with from the issuance side. So that definitely needs to be reconciled, and I think it will. And I don't think that's too big of a concern to be coming up with, you know, in the future. I think within the next 6 months, at least within this year, we should definitely have something fairly set in stone. And the more we have corporate involvement, we'll be able to see barriers to entry from that side, from the traditional markets, and they're going to definitely play one of the largest parts, I'd say, in forming these up-and-coming standards. So really, that's, I think, another thing to look forward to in 2019, and we can very much hope for that news coming up soon.
Thanks for that, Esme. Sejin, let me just transition over to you. So, from a third party's perspective, not an issuer, you see these different security token standards and protocol. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think that as a third party, just being in the marketplace, seeing all the proliferation of different standards and protocols, do you think that there's a need for reconciliation? And if between Polymath and Securitize, between ERC 1400 and DS protocol, do you have a favorite?
The last one was a really tough question.
Just kidding on the last one.
So, like, Heslin Labs is a blockchain tech company based in Seoul, and what we do is basically, like, we do smart contract audit, and we do, like, blockchain service development, including developing solutions for blockchain. So, if you have any questions regarding the blockchain service development, please come and find me after this session. And regarding this question, and I really agree with what Heslin just mentioned, because, like, when we think of the ERC20 standard with Ethereum back in, like, ICO time of era, and that ERC20 was actually made up because not just by like one single company or one single entity, but it was actually chosen by the Ethereum improvement proposal community. So what I think is that instead of which company will like actually lead the industry, those kind of standards will be chosen by the community or even by the exchanges or even by the like people, developers. and especially the insurance companies like who want to securitize their assets. So I think